say good day to you this day of your time. How are you all? Once again, we take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for allowing our civilization to communicate to your civilization through this window and in this way and at this time. Once again, each and every time you allow such an interaction to take place, it expands our understanding of that many more ways that the infinite has of expressing itself. So we thank you for this gift of sharing. We would like to begin this transmission with the following notions. First of all, we would like to take advantage, to some degree, of the synchronicity of the image that is depicted upon the channel shirt. That which you have in your now mythology called in your reality the Men in Black. The idea is really threefold, at least those portions we will discuss this day of your time. There is more to it than this, but we will cover three ideas regarding what you call euphemistically the Men in Black. Number one, many of you have understood that there is some connection to what you call the extraterrestrial or UFO phenomenology regarding these mysterious individuals. And this is true. In one sense, in order to maintain certain ideas of secrecy within the extraterrestrial agendas that deem that secrecy is important, they concocted what would be called a screen presentation. This is, in other words, an archetypal projection, a representation of themselves in very fundamental and basic appearance, what you call black suit, black car, the things you understand in your reality to be nondescript, for the specific purpose in that getting your consciousness to focus on a nondescript representation of an individual in a black suit, in a black car, mysterious, will actually help to activate certain centers in your brain, certain centers of your consciousness experience of reality, to allow you to see what they want you to see, to allow you to know what they want you to know, and to forget what they want you to forget. It is, in a sense, a type of hypnotic tool in the same way that your society uses such things as pendulums or shiny objects to get you to focus, or movement of hands to get you to focus on a particular point of view so that you can be more suggestible. The presentation by certain extraterrestrials of the figure is archetypal. The Men in Black is a tool for getting you to focus in a certain area of your consciousness, in a certain area of your brain where it is more easy to allow you to forget certain things they don't want you to know. Now, it's not working so much anymore, because the more information that has leaked into your society regarding such things as extraterrestrial contact has made some of the concepts of Men in Black obsolete as a tool for erasing memory. However, this brings us to the second idea, and that is that in knowing that this was going on and being done by certain extraterrestrials from time to time to create the idea of secrecy, certain factions of your own government picked up on this and thought it was, as you would say, a nifty idea. A few, therefore, not many, but a few, such cases of reports of what you call Men in Black are then simply nothing more than the idea of your own government agencies attempting to try it out as a part of what you would call their own mind control programs to see if they could utilize this to their benefit. It was not completely successful, primarily for the reason we have already given, in that by the time they initiated it, most of the effect of that presentation by the part of extraterrestrials had worn off on your society and really no longer had an impact on most of you to whom they presented themselves. The third idea, which has also manifested in physical reality from time to time, is literally purely the archetypal level, not involving physical extraterrestrials, not involving any physiological beings from your own governments, but literally that your collective consciousness from time to time, in that it has become incorporated in the collective mythology, has literally created a physicalized manifestation, or what would appear to be a physicalized manifestation of such entities, when and where there is doubt and fear about the things that are connected to extraterrestrial information or secrets in general. Your collective consciousness can be called forth by an individual in a sufficient amount of fear, and they can actually perceive such individuals as Men in Black appearing before them to reflect and exemplify the fear they feel within themselves about the secret that they may all of a sudden have become privy to. So, A, you have the literal extraterrestrial presentation that was utilized as a suggestion tool. B, you have your own human representation of this idea. But you also have, C, the archetypal collective consciousness representation of what you have come to know now in your mythology as the Men in Black. We would now also like to comment on something that is an extension of what we have commented on also recently, and that is that in a recent transmission, in a recent conversation, we suggested that in this now upcoming shift time, your present month of what you call March and beyond, there would be, in this time, many, many things that would begin to shift very rapidly, especially with regard to sociological ideas, economic, religious, so forth, ideas. And now we would like to underline and underscore this idea we spoke about by pointing out, as many of you have already probably guessed, that the recent announcement on your planet of your ability to now clone individuals is one such shift, or a part of one such sociological change in your society. For now you have a great degree of discussion and investigation. Now that you know it is possible for you to do something which for some time in your minds has been the product of science fiction, but now no longer is, it is one of the things that will very rapidly change your world and your outlook on reality and bring up lots of discussion on many different things that perhaps even only 1 month ago were not really strong considerations for reality. But now you know that you have arrived at a threshold of understanding and technology that allows you to discuss what you call the positive and negative, the pros and the cons of this issue, because now it is available to you. And even more so, you surprised yourself by finding out exactly how simple the technique actually is. Anyone in any kind of a laboratory now on your planet that is in any way, shape, or form equipped with even minimal technology can do this. Cloning exists in your reality now. Science fiction has become science. It is a new reality for you to consider, and there will, in the upcoming March month, and in the months especially accelerating toward your summer, be many more such new ideas beginning to break into the mainstream of your collective consciousness and will have to be being dealt with as reality instead of speculation. So, for what it's worth, congratulations on arriving at this point and giving yourselves even that much more to think about. Once again, we take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for allowing our civilization to communicate with you this way, through this window at this time. And we ask now in return for this gift that you are giving to us, in what way may I and my civilization be of service to you? You, good day. Yes?
Just this last week, they on TV, they took the juice out of a quail's brain, the type of bird.
Understood, yes. They created a hybridization.
And they injected.
Sound familiar?
Yeah, they injected it into a chicken's embryo, and then they got a chicken that sounded like a quail.
Yes. And so now, your own reality, your own people, are beginning to understand exactly some of the technology that the Greys are using to create the hybrid race that ultimately wound up in our civilization and other civilizations, yes.
And so in your civilization, you use this technology, like, can we say positively, not negatively?
We do not use it at all. If we were to, we would use it positively because that's our orientation. But our civilization has had no need for that particular idea, in that we are, in and of ourselves, the product of such hybridization. It was simply not necessary for us to continue that particular technology within our civilization for a variety of reasons.
Is this a similar technological breakthrough or process that whole genetic engineering that's going on here now, where we're changing the whole basic structure of our food chain?
You will apply these things to what you call your food chain, yes. It is part and parcel of this understanding. And now that the understanding has been simplified, it will be capable, certainly, of being applied, as you would say, across the board in many different fields. Yes?
Is there some negative thing we can do with this?
Of course, there are many. If you can ask the question, certainly you can conceive of negative ideas. And many of you already have, and that's part of the reason why there are so many discussions now taking place. Because many individuals, and to some degree, maybe justifiably, are afraid that individuals, because it is such a simple technique, will be capable of doing many negative things without anyone knowing about it. You follow?
Yeah, like big industries that just do it for profit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you will find that it is highly likely, it has not really happened yet, but highly likely, we would say in the neighborhood of at least 95%, that you may someday in the near future be quite surprised to find out that individuals that you thought simply to be, quote-unquote, normal individuals, you will find out actually were created through the process of cloning. You understand?
Yeah.
In the future, you will find, in all likelihood, that these things will have been done in secret. And the creation of individuals through this particular process will have taken place, but no one will be told. Until such time as you simply have gotten used to the fact that they are as natural as anyone else, and you will simply be told in retrospect that they were the product of cloning. In essence, in that sense, it doesn't really make much difference, because it is still the natural process of the division of the cell. Whether it is done inside the physiological womb or outside doesn't really make much difference in terms of the being's capability of expressing consciousness and being connected to spirit. That's just a matter of technique. You follow?
Yes.
However, yes, there are many ways that individuals could use this, as you would say, negatively. Certainly an individual has already, many times in many of what you would call your science fiction scenarios, postulated the possibility of creating a race of what you would call mindless slaves, mindless robots, soldiers that will simply die at the drop of a hat without question because they have no ability to question. Things like that, you understand?
Yeah.
In that sense, devaluation of the concept of the spirit connection. However, there are many benefits as well, such as you already know, the cloning of perhaps what you would call replacement organs. It is not necessary to clone an entire individual, you know. And in that sense, in having replacement organs, in case your body should succumb to some illness or disease and require a replacement organ, then it will be literally identical to the one you have. And there will be no rejection, because it will literally be made of your own cells. So there are, as you say, benefits. There are, as you say, negatives. But again, as with anything, it is up to your people to decide exactly what they will do with this, but you now know how to do it, and in that sense, it will not be stopped.
How do you see us going?
We find that over the course of what you would call perhaps the next 15 to 20 of your years, the ratio of positive uses to negative uses would be approximately about 4/5 to 1/5. 4/5 positive, 1/5 negative. This will ultimately balance out as we perceive your energy now, but we do perceive that there will simply be those who cannot resist the temptation. You follow?
Yeah. It's the same thing with when we got fire, we cooked our food, but we also burned down our hut sometimes, huh?
Yes. Similar by analogy.
But the thrust of our consciousness on the planet right now
is relatively positive.
And it's in a good space, and we're okay.
Generally speaking, yes. Generally speaking. There is much work to do to balance many of the ideas that are now coming out in your society that project themselves in a negative way. Much balancing to do, but the potential for this balance is now in your society quite high. And, from our point of view, relatively inevitable over the course of what you would call the next decade or two.
Thank you.
Thank you. You, and then you, female number 2. Do you know who you are? All right, number 1, good day.
Good day. Thank you for being here again. Along the lines of the cloning, or on a tangent line,
Yes.
I was watching a program last night on robots.
Yes.
It was really fascinating, and they're making some pretty interesting headway into that. And I was curious as to whether your civilization explores much in that direction as far as robotics.
We have explored in the past some of these ideas, and to some degree, we suppose you could say that our spacecraft are the product of what you would call in your society artificial intelligence. They are self-aware.
Yeah.
They are more than what you understand as automatons But in some senses, our technology in creating them would be seen as analogous to what you would call computerized or robotic sciences, even though it is far beyond what you are working with now.
Yes.
But yes, to some degree, we have experimented with that a little bit. But again, for the most part, we found it relatively unnecessary for the things that interested us, except for the utilization in the craft themselves.
The aspects they were showing last night was along the lines of what we're exploring. I guess you would call them cyborgs, where we are implanting mechanical devices, etc., which we've done partially already.
Yes.
But they've also now created chips that they can activate with the brain and by the brain.
Yes, there are such beings in existence that we are aware of. They are not the product of our society, but we are aware that such beings do exist.
Okay, so there are a number of other civilizations you've communicated with that
Yes.
that are quite successful at mixing and matching
Some successful
plastic,
and some
steel,
not, yes.
and okay, and because it looks like we're going in that direction also, and it looks like it could be pretty fascinating. They suggested that they could. I remember one time you said that if we were when we could learn one day to recreate something atom by atom.
Yes.
That the only
you are
different-
doing this now to
Yes.
some degree.
And they were suggesting that if we started to transplant a person particle by particle, even in synthetic particles, such as silicone, that eventually they may become totally transformed and they wouldn't even realize that they would transform from biology to mechanisms.
In some senses, this is so, although it is unlikely they would be unaware. As in being transformed or transmuted in that way, you would find that the differences within the being's expression of consciousness would most likely allow them to become aware of the transformation. You understand?
No, would you go touch that again?
In other words, the kind of transformation you are talking about
Yes.
is the kind of transformation that would make it most likely that the being who has been transformed in that way would automatically, by the nature of the transformation, realize that they had been transformed. In other words, to transmute, to cause a mutagenic transformation from carbon-based to silicon-based life, the silicon-based life operates on a very high frequency, and as such, it would most likely be that the high-frequency nature of such a transmuted being would contain an ability to be aware that such a transformation had been made, and it would be less likely that they would be capable of not knowing that because of the frequency on which they exist.
Okay, I understand.
You follow?
Yes. And as that transmutation happens,
Yes.
the soul energy that's been basically energizing and activating the biological part,
So to speak.
basically it doesn't so much take a back seat as it takes a different stance. It still is an energetic form,
Yes.
but it doesn't
In some
need...
senses, it may actually be able to express itself even more fully.
Ah.
And in some senses, this is actually what you're all already going through. You have already heard us talk about the idea that many of your doctors are already discovering that your body contains now more silicon than it used to. The idea is that you are actually creating psycho-trans-mutagenic occurrences within your own body now, and you know you are transforming. You're becoming more aware of yourself and all the dimensions that you are connected to. And as such, you see this as more of a full expression of your soul, so to speak, rather than just a different stance. While different, it is also representative to you of more of yourself. So you're already actually going through this process. Whether you accelerate it artificially or not is not really a major point, because you're doing it anyway. And in some senses, as we have also already said, when you get to the point of creating what you deem to be an artificially intelligent computer, you will actually find that what you have simply done is create a sophisticated enough matrix so that your own higher self can actually begin to talk to you through some kind of physiological medium. So when you are conversing with your so-called intelligent computers, you'll find that what you're doing is actually talking to yourself. You understand?
Okay, yes.
And that is why our ships, in that sense, are linked to us and are, in a sense, simply a different expression or an extension of our own consciousness,
So,
rather than something that is literally a quote-unquote technological artificiality.
so you basically, you control them by your thinking.
We do not control them. We have a relationship with them.
Huh.
Together, we, shall we say, concoct what shall be done, where we shall go, and so forth. It is not exactly what you would call a control. It is more the idea of a conversation, a suggestibility, a knowingness of where it is we need to be, an awareness, an understanding. It's not a control.
Would you say that your ship is a sentient being?
Yes.
Is sentient?
Yes. Self-aware. Sentient. Yes.
So it is a silicone-based sentient creation.
It is more than
Basically.
silicon, but
Yeah,
yes,
more than
silicon is
silicon.
involved. Yes.
Okay, and as you have, but you created it, and as you co-created it,
Yes.
that was the way you chose to co-create it was to work as you call it, an extension.
Yes, but when we arrived at a certain point in understanding technology, the creation of these beings was not done in what you would call a typical technological manner. It was more a concentration of consciousness that did it, that manifested the material necessary out of which or through which they could then express themselves.
Okay.
You follow?
Yes, and I've got another question back on the cloning now.
Yes.
So your civilization has found that it could experiment endlessly in gene manipulation, but you found now that there's just no need to. You're just not interested in doing that for now, just because
It is not our path.
natural selection is still working just as well for
Well,
you.
in a sense, but in the fact that we are a collective consciousness, we naturally select everything we need
Yes.
through whatever natural process is available to us without necessarily having to go through, again, what might be ostensibly called an artificial route.
Okay. And so you have evolved, and your natural selection has allowed you or caused you to create the physical beings that you enjoy being just perfectly the way they are?
Yes.
So in your perception, it is fine-tuned. Your physical devices are fine-tuned to do exactly what you feel is necessary and what you really want to do, huh?
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you. Number
Thank you.
2. Good day.
Good day. His discussion brought up another question before I
right.
get to what I wanted to ask.
Yes.
Is the physical ascension then essentially the transformation or transmutation from carbon-based to silicone-based physicality?
To some degree, although you can still remain carbon-based and operate at a higher frequency than you have been operating. But you will contain, to some degree, more silicon in accelerating your frequency, yes. Essentially, yes, but it is not as simplistic as that, though it can be, yes.
Okay.
So what I am saying is that there are certain conditions that would create differences in the way an individual may go about creating that acceleration, may render them into something that is still carbon-based with more silicon, may render them into something that is basically silicon-based, or maybe a combination of the two, and any variation in between, depending on what needs are being served, what understanding is had.
Does the silicon base support a higher vibration than
Yes.
carbon?
Yes.
And that's part of why it happens?
Yes.
All right. The questions that I was interested in, again, in the news and technology,
Yes.
they're talking about the Krebs molecule as being the factor that determines how good your memory is, and now they can augment that. I'd like your explanation of that, if you would, and particularly how it can apply to my field, which is working with children.
All right.
The other one was the information about having children, especially between 2 and 10, playing music, hearing
Yes.
music, listening
Yes.
to music, but especially playing piano music
Yes.
as developing parts of their brain dealing with problem solving, logic, and other areas.
Well, you already know that's true.
Yes, I know that, but now we have, some evidence of that.
Yes.
And would it then be suggested that that become part of a daily routine for children?
Routine may not be the exact word.
Experience.
Yes. Creativity, yes. Experience, yes. Routine, no.
Okay.
However, the word routine, in some senses, brings us back to your first question.
All right.
What you call the idea of the Krebs molecule, dealing with memory. Oh, now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, no. Must not have that Krebs molecule. Dealing with the concept of memory is that it functions similarly to the concept of a routine. In other words, it functions like a switching mechanism that has an automatic component to it, so that memory, neurologically speaking, as electricity moves along neurological paths, is guided along certain paths by this particular molecular mechanism in a routine way, like a switching track for one of your trains, in that it is designed to switch the train here or there, here or there, here or there, nowhere else. Therefore, memory is retained. You follow?
Kind of like on or off?
In a sense, yes.
Okay.
So it is similar to the concept of binary coding. That's how it's based. That's how it's designed to function, and why it is connected to the concept of what you would call rote memory. However, when a change is required, the Krebs molecule undergoes a change, a transmutation, into a different kind of switch. So, in a sense, it is both fixed yet malleable. And similar to the concept of what you discovered with regard to cloning, it is the electrical charge, specifically the nature of the electrical charge going through the neurological path, that determines whether or not the Krebs molecule will remain fixed or will be transmuted into something flexible so it can become another switch. So, if it receives just a certain kind of electrical charge, it will remain as a switch and do its job, click, 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 click. But all of a sudden one day there might be enough collective charge, a need for change, that will all of a sudden flood through this circuit that it will contain enough power to, in a sense, deprogram the molecule, bring it back to zero, and allow it to be imprinted with a new concept or new programming of the new switch it needs to be to remember what it now needs to remember, or what it needs to help you remember neurologically. Is this making sense to you?
I think so.
Because in the cloning, what you have discovered is that it is the electrical charge that deprograms, shall we say, despecifies the DNA back to its original form so that it is no longer dedicated. In other words, if you take the cell from a liver, if you take the cell from the heart of an adult being, it is a dedicated cell that can only replicate itself as a liver cell, a heart cell. Beyond a certain point of age, it becomes dedicated and no longer can just be anything. But when you are forming, every cell can become any kind of a cell. And this is what the electric charge does, is it deprograms the dedication in the cell that has been there for a long time, brings it back to zero, and allows it to be any kind of a cell. And so it thinks, oh, I'm starting from scratch again. All right, I'll just start by creating a whole new being from scratch.
Okay,
That's how it works.
How do you stimulate the electrical charge so that memory is retained?
So that memory is retained. You mean a specific memory?
Specific or general? You know,
General, all right, or specific, all right. There are many ways to do this. You have the advantage, first of all, of one thing you have already suggested, which is oral stimulation. There can be visual stimulation. But whether auditory or visual or tactile or any other number of stimulations through the other senses, you can concoct a archetypal or symbolic representation in such a way that with more stimulation, more pathways, in a sense, are created in which a particular memory can be accessed from many different points of view or pathways or doorways. So, the more experiential the information is in terms of how it comes to you, the easier it is for you to retain it. So the more senses you use, the more involved you are, then the more stimulated both the general and the specific memory will be. Okay. That's why many of the things that are now being realized as changes that are needed in what you would call your educational system are so necessary. So instead of just having one way of delivering information, you now are beginning to realize that experience itself is the great teacher. And the more experiential you can make any kind of a lesson, the more senses you involve in any kind of a lesson, the more general and specific information an individual will retain. You follow?
Yes.
So, stimulate the senses. That's how it's done pragmatically. So invent, create new paradigms of education that will allow an individual to participate, to experience, to be involved in some scenario or multidimensional presentation, and invite them to utilize and apply their own excitement and their own interests in the way that they would want to use that information in applying it in their own lives. Their retention will be exceedingly high, if not literally 100%.
I'm still working on getting the application part down, but we'll continue.
Well, you are already dealing with the concept of music, yes?
Yes.
Well, you can add some visual cues to that as well if you want, and some tactile ones as well as you want. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
So play with that, literally play with it. And here again is a big clue. Children, as you have pointed out, already know how to teach themselves, already know how to memorize. They do it all the time when you see them play. And they already have the visualization, they already have the feeling, they already have the tactile sense to become the part. And that's how they learn, that's how they remember, that's how they know, by being, by seeing, feeling, and being the part.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why such things as nursery rhymes are so memorable, because it is using more than one sensation. You understand?
The rhythm as well as the lyrics.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And also the story that may go with it, so the visuals that go with it.
Mm-hmm.
You follow?
Yes.
So, with music, create stories. With stories, create music. And create tactile sensation and visceral experiential understanding by inviting people to play and extend their senses into the experience of whatever it is they're learning. So it's more fully rounded and thus more holistic, and thus they can operate on a more holistic level in their memory. Does that help you?
Yes, that is helpful.
Do you think you will remember this?
I'll buy the tape.
All right. Well, perhaps if you do, then sing along.
Okay. Could you talk about photographic memory? Is there a difference in the process that creates that kind of situation?
To some degree, there may be individuals who have some genetic predisposition to allow them to function that way, but for the most part, it is really simply a matter of having been allowed to make the kind of connections and associations that we're talking about from a very early age. In other words, the more associations you can make between things, the more, quote-unquote, photographic or eidetic your memory will be. So playing association games are a very, very, very good technique for stretching the ability to have what you would call an eidetic memory. For example, this is a very simplistic example, but I believe you will get the point. Put into a basket a number of different objects written on pieces of paper. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
So write down cloud, fish, hat, car, book, so on and so forth, on various numbers of pieces of paper and put them all into a basket. Then draw out 2. Then, in as few connections as possible, make a connection from the first one to the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Many of you have played this kind of a game. This is a very good exercise, association exercise for stretching the memory muscles, so to speak. Do you understand that?
Yes.
You understand how to play?
Yes.
Does that help you?
Yes, that does. One more question
Yes.
along this line.
Yes.
I started having trouble remembering things.
Remembering what?
Well, perhaps names. I've always been good with faces, but names or
Yes. These
word
things
symbols for something.
are not anything at all to do with your ability. They're, again, to do with associations you have already made that, in some senses, take precedence over other associations you would like to make, but do not make because you already have other associations in place. Associations to ideas or so forth that are not allowing you to make other kinds of associations. It's not that you have trouble. It's simply that you're focused in your kind of association that you're making. And it takes precedence over another kind of association. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So when you do not, quote-unquote, remember names easily, it may be because there is something about the idea of naming that you've already been taught that has made you make associations to the concept of names that makes it difficult for you to retain individual specific names. You have a particular concept about what names are all about that is working against the grain of your ability to remember specific names. That can be one reason. Or it can be the idea of many different kinds of sociological reasons that have been fed into you that make it feel awkward for you to try and have to remember someone's name. For example, sometimes when an individual is told that they no longer need to do this or that sociologically acceptable thing, then they're fine with it all of a sudden, and they remember everything brilliantly because they no longer have to. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
That's one example of what we are talking about. So certain kinds of assumptions can block you from being able to do things very naturally just because, in some senses, you think you have to try too hard to do the thing, and therefore that process in and of itself negates your ability to do so.
Well, two assumptions that I've heard. One is it's a natural process of getting older, and the other one...
No.
All right. The other one is that it's a natural process of the ascension process in moving towards living in the now.
In some senses. However, when you do it that way, yes, in some ways it's not a matter of needing memory. However, you will know what you need to know when you need to know it. And if you're truly living in the now, and really it was important for you to know a name, you would know it. It wouldn't really be the same mechanism as memory in the way that you're using it now, but that doesn't mean that you wouldn't know it. Now, the only way this connects to the idea of the so-called aging process is exactly the way that you have mentioned it, in that in the aging process, not in a debilitating sense, but in an evolving sense, you can go to a more holistic place where some of the things you heretofore might have needed to remember are no longer necessary to remember as bits of information, because you can now do things in other ways and access information in other ways, such as just knowing what you need to know when you need to know it. So in that sense, yes. In that context, yes, there is something to what you have said, but it has nothing at all to do with the debilitating concept of aging, and has nothing to do with living in the now in the sense that you wouldn't know it if you really needed to. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's very reassuring. Thank
Why,
you very
thank
much.
You, good day.
Well, I've been having a lot of fun
Oh, all right. Thank you.
with the homework.
Yes, your Tesseract.
My Tesseract.
Yes.
Got together with Cameron, and he was good enough to build it for
All right.
me.
Yes.
And then I took and put some tape in that on it.
Yes.
Now I
Tape
show-
in that.
Yeah, so, yeah, I put some electrical tape on it with colors and everything.
Oh, all right.
Now, when I
Yes.
was talking to Daryl,
Yes.
he pointed out. Did you get you got a picture of
Yes.
what my
Yes.
Tesseract looks like?
Yes.
He pointed out something very interesting. I did sit down twice with it and do some meditation and put myself into it like you suggested, and I wasn't getting anything.
Not like I suggested, in the way that you assumed I suggested.
Well, that's probably, yeah, that might be. I mean, that's what I thought.
Because I did not tell you to put yourself in the center cube.
You said to, project my consciousness.
Yes, but not that you were isolated to the concept of the center cube, which is only an analogy.
Yes, I just found out from Daryl.
Yes.
That I was looking at it as an actual cube in
Yes.
the middle.
Yes.
And I was putting myself in the middle, and that, I imagine, is why I didn't get the results. Because
Correct.
Okay. He explained to me that the cube in the middle is not really a cube in the middle, but what would look like the front of the second cube is actually the back of the first cube.
Yes.
And he also, I put wire on it so it looks like it is floating, and he said that it was important to probably connect and put the tape on it so that it's visible.
Yes, to reinforce the idea of
Yes.
the forced perspective,
Right.
rather than allowing you to continue to think that the inner cube is actually some kind of a separate cube
Right.
from the other one.
Right. So that was very
Yes.
enlightening.
Yes,
So
the
now,
nature, once again, of all higher dimensional geometry is that when you can see it in your mind in the way it actually is, beyond the shadow that exists in your third dimensional representation, but can see it as it actually is, that's when the idea of transformation in your mind takes place.
Yeah.
That's when you reroute your pathways in your brain.
Yeah.
That's when you literally see from a higher plane.
yeah, that's what Daryl said.
Yes.
So then with that in mind,
Yes, with that in mind, pun intended.
yeah, go from, well, that'll give me the a different approach now and a
Yes,
different
and it
understanding.
isn't just a matter of going in or through. Again, it's a matter of holding the entire true shape in your mind and, in fact, rotating it.
Oh,
So that you
rotating
can
it.
understand it from all dimensional perspectives.
But rotating it in my mind,
Yes.
not in the physical form that it is.
Well, you can do it in the physical form that it is if that will help you.
Yeah.
But it isn't the rotating physical form that is really representative of the true higher dimensional form, because
Right.
the physical form that you have with you is only, in a sense, a third dimensional shadow
Right.
of a higher dimensional object.
Gotcha.
But that's the best representation that you can create in your third dimensional reality.
Right.
In the same way that your flat shadow on the ground is only somewhat representative of what your third dimensional body looks like, that third dimensional object is only somewhat representative of what the fourth dimensional object actually is.
Yeah. So get it in my mind and rotate it in my mind.
Yes. First, see it for what it is, which is actually 6 cubes interpenetrating in different dimensional realities.
Yeah.
Then when you know, as you rotate it, that you're looking into a completely different reality when you look through every face, that will begin to give you a true picture of what you're actually looking at as a object.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah. I think I understand that now.
Well, all right, we'll see.
Did making it? He suggested that I should probably have it the same color. I made it 2 different colors.
That's up to you.
It doesn't.
It
make
is only
any difference.
suggested if that will help you understand that the quote-unquote inner cube is actually nothing more than an extension of the outer one.
Right. Okay.
So if the different colors distract you from understanding this, then yes, it may be to your advantage to make it all the same color, but
Right.
it isn't necessary or essential that you do so.
Okay, the size that we did is like 8 and somewhat 8 1/4, something
Yes.
like that for the bigger one. And then we did the phi ratio.
Yes, that is good.
That's good.
Yes.
Okay. that's
Phi
good.
ratio is always important when expressing natural relationships and unlocking keys in geometry. The phi
Right.
ratio is always the key to expansion.
Okay, that's what we thought. Okay.
Phi ratio is 1 to 1.618,
Yes.
for those that were wondering.
Oh, okay. All right, so I'll go back, and now I have a different perspective of this and understanding of it that I
Yes.
didn't have before.
Yes. Does that help you then?
Oh, yes, and it was very fun. Now.
Yes, now it is, yes.
Yes, now it is. Now, on the blue stone,
Bluestone.
the blue stone,
Yes.
after we had a discussion last week,
Yes.
and you asked me, is it glass?
Yes.
And I said, no, it's stones and all this kind of stuff, because I realized that we had a conversation about all that. But on Saturday morning, knowing that you have a great purpose in why you say stuff, that's stuck in my mind.
Usually.
Yes. So I sat down with the blue stone,
Yes.
and I said, so blue stone, why did Bashar insist on calling you glass instead of stone?
Yes. And what did you get?
He said, because I am from the glass family.
Yes.
He said, well, I knew that, but he said, be aware that this means something very special in regards to the blue nature of the, quote, stone, unquote.
Yes.
He said, I have been forged from the special fusion of earth and can be referred to as clarified, crystallized celestial glass.
In some senses, although it's not literally a crystalline structure, you understand. Do you understand that glass is not crystalline, nor is it even solid? Glass is not a solid. It is a very, 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 very slowly moving liquid.
Glass is a slow...
Yes,
Ooh.
it is not a solid, and it actually has its own term. It is called a metastable substance. You will find, if you look at glass windows that are old enough, you will find that they actually have sagged.
Yeah.
It's not a solid.
Huh.
It's a liquid.
Wow.
And it will succumb to gravity over time, in that sense, depending upon its structure. So the idea is to now understand that here you have something that is not really a solid, but is representative of a fusion of earth and oxygen at a high frequency pitch, which means it's very fluid, flexible, malleable, and capable, therefore, of transmugenic properties. Does this give you something to ponder?
Yes.
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
All right, let's go back to...
No, let's go forward.
All right.
It's a looking glass.
It's a looking glass. All right, but you have...
Yes.
When we have talked about the monatomic glass,
Yes.
of the other colors and everything.
Yes.
Knowing that it is a glass.
Yes.
But you had said that it was crystalline in nature.
No. It is not physiologically crystalline in structure. Its frequency, etherically, is similar to crystalline frequencies.
Okay.
It is not a literal physical crystalline structure.
Right. I know that it didn't have that.
That's why
like
we said what we said. It is etherically similar to crystalline frequencies, in that crystalline simply means well-ordered.
Yes.
Understand?
Right. Oh, okay. So in what he said, then it's clarified. It's not crystallized.
Yes. Crystallized in frequency, not in substance. It is a high energy frequency that is similar to the idea of what you get out of crystalline order, but it is not literally a crystal.
No, I knew that.
All right.
Yeah, I knew it was not the crystal.
All right. But do you understand what we mean?
Now I know what you mean.
Thank
yes.
you.
Now, what about the reference to celestial glass? He said celestial glass is made from meteorites landing. I am this glass. The other stones are not celestial glass. That was his reference.
In this way, again, it is a comment that there are similar properties energetically in this glass to the properties exhibited by certain glass-like particles as they are free in space and bombarded with high energy waves. So it is similar, it is akin to that idea.
Is it any way related to moldavite?
Distantly.
Distantly.
Yes. Not mineralogically, but distantly in concept, in structure. Yes. In that moldavite is a type of glass-like formation created under high impact and high heat in the fusion of earth and oxygen and certain mineralogical elements.
So in that way it's related with
in
the
that
earth
way it's similar.
and oxygen.
Yes, but not similar in composition, just similar in makeup.
Because it wasn't, it's not related to meteorites, the glassy meteorites or
No.
anything.
Although you can find glass that is the product of the impact of meteorites on your planet through high heat fusion of the impact. But this is different.
How is it different?
It is simply created by a slightly different process. That's all.
Was it created from the volcanoes?
It is more the idea of high heat fusion rather than the idea of sudden impact fusion, yes.
Okay. Yeah, because I got information on moldavite, and it said it's the only known gemstone of extraterrestrial origin. Is that true?
Well, no. There are other forms of meteorite and tektite. You have made the idea of moldavite what you call a gemstone, but you could say the same about anything that falls out of your sky.
Yeah.
So there are many different forms of meteoric bombardment in different substances, but moldavite is, in general, the only glass-like one, yes, that you are aware of right now. There are a few other forms of it. You will find eventually that there is actually a blue moldavite. But, of course, you will probably not call it moldavite.
Yeah, because moldavite is a translucent green stone.
Yes, I know.
Well, I know, but I just found out that.
Oh, all right.
And so it has no relationship at all to the green stone that I
No.
have, the green glass.
No. Except, again, that they are kin in that they are types of glass.
Yes. Okay.
Does that help you, then?
Yeah, it'll lead to more questions.
Oh, all right. Of course it always does, but isn't that what it's all about?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
You, and then you. Number 2, do you know who you are?
I didn't finish.
Number 1.
I didn't finish. Who's
Yes, you
next?
did.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
I had another question.
Not yet.
You don't want to go back?
No, go ahead.
Not yet.
Hi, Bashar.
Good day.
I made another trip into Joshua Tree
Oh, all right.
last week,
Yes.
and when I went in, I went into meditation, and I had this incredible amount of energy that went through me,
Yes.
and I felt like karma was being burned when I was there.
All right. In a sense, you were balancing things, and that
Right.
could be interpreted as the concept of karma.
Right.
Yes.
And while I was sitting there also, it got very, very hot when this. That's why I said I felt like karma was being burned,
Yes.
because it got very, very hot.
Yes.
And then a strong wind came up, and it got very cool.
All right.
And when that occurred,
Yes.
I had this strong memory of sitting in a similar, let's say, location
Yes.
in Atlantis.
Yes. Do you understand what this process is called? When it is applied to the idea of metal, it is called annealing. You heat it up, you quench it very fast.
Right.
This makes it stronger.
Okay.
So you are annealing yourself, making yourself stronger, capable of supporting more information about yourself, more knowledge about yourself. You understand?
Yes.
Heating up, quickly cooling down. Heating up, quickly cooling down. Annealing.
Well,
And so this information...
I felt like I was being infused with knowledge.
That's what I said, yes.
Yes, which is exactly what you said.
Yes.
All right. Also, when I was driving up there,
Yes.
I was thinking about the how I feel when I drive there. The whole trip is a trip for me. The actual driving.
One moment. All right. We had to wait for a translation on that.
In other words, the experience of driving to the desert and
Yes.
being there
We
and driving
understand now.
back.
We
The
understand
whole
now.
experience is the trip. And I was thinking...
Sometimes your language doesn't necessarily translate immediately on this end.
And I was thinking that sometimes I think the trip there
Yes.
is more important to me than actual being there.
Of course. The euphemism for life itself.
Right. And that I take this into a lot of portions of my life, and I may never get there wherever there is because I just enjoy taking
Because
the
you're
trip.
already where you need to be, which
Right.
is here. Yes, exactly. And when all of you learn to do that, you'll be wherever you want to be, instantly. Because you will allow here to become anything at all that it can become. Because everything already exists here. So when you stop trying to get there and completely be here, here will become there and anywhere you want it to be. That's the secret. Now you know.
Now I know.
And you are learning to live it more and more every day. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your trips are helping you.
They
Stay
are.
put. You follow?
Stay put.
Yes. Your trips are helping you learn to stay put where
Right,
you are in the present,
right.
in the now.
Aki.
Yes.
Remember that? Yeah. I have a question about the Reiki.
Yes.
Can you explain to me the dynamic that operates in...
Do you mean aside from simply the idea of the manipulation of high-frequency energy? What specifically are you requesting to be explained?
how it works? Well, I guess...
Through the focusing, to some degree, of high-frequency energy. All types of energy healing are the focusing, in a sense, or the channeling or manipulation of certain harmonics of high-frequency energy that then impinges upon the person to be healed the frequency necessary for them to match, so that if they match it, they heal themselves. Reiki is simply one form of this and takes advantage of certain harmonics that are connected to energy centers in the body. It operates off a certain grid, in other words.
Okay, what
A
does
certain frequency domain.
the teacher do when they say they're giving you attunements?
I just told you.
They're opening channels to allow for the energy to...
They are playing the notes that they intuitively sense are the notes that if you choose to vibrate in harmony with those notes and form the appropriate chord, you will be operating on the appropriate level to create a healing within yourself. They're playing you a song. They're telling you to sing it with them. If you sing it along in harmony, you will heal yourself. Wherever there is discord is where healing needs to be done.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make
Said that
sense.
way?
Yes.
All right.
Thank
Does that
you.
help?
Yes, I have one more question, and it's about my wrist.
Your wrists.
My right wrist.
Right wrists. Yes, what about it?
It's a lot of pain in there. Is it carbo tunnel? that's wrong with my right wrist?
Why don't you know?
Well, it never occurred to me, first of all, that I would have such a thing. And I was told, I didn't go to a medical doctor. And someone, a chiropractor said, yeah, that's it. And an intuitive said, that's it.
And
I don't want it to be it.
Why not?
Because I want it to be gone.
Well, then you have to let it be it before it can be changed into anything else. Don't you remember? You have to own what you are before you can change it.
Well, do you have any suggestions on what I can do?
I just told you.
Oh.
Own it fully instead of denying that that's what it is. Own that that's what it is, and then you will give yourself the inspiration to figure out how to transform it into something else. And also remember that sometimes you give yourself these things for a variety of different reasons.
I'm trying to figure it out.
You don't have to try. Sometimes it can be as simple as stop doing what's causing it.
Quit my job. Quit your job. What? Oh. Okay.
Sometimes it can simply be a sign that you give yourself that you may simply be extending yourself in ways that you do not need to extend yourself. And thus, it would perhaps be best to pull back a little and treat yourself a little bit more kindly in certain areas and not stretch or stress yourself beyond your limits.
That's what's been sort of tweaking me.
Yes, tweak, tweak, tweak.
Tweak, tweak, tweak.
Does that help you?
Yes. I'm going to a chiropractor and he's doing some adjustments.
Attract yourself to whatever feels best for you, but understand again, all you have to do is own it first and not deny that it's there, because otherwise you cannot change what you do not own. All right?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2.
Hi.
No.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
This week I heard a tape. It was a woman by the name of Marguerite. It's okay. A woman by the name of Marguerite.
Yes.
Channeling an Essassani individual named Ilan. And what
That
occurred...
you have named, Ilan.
Correct.
We do not have names.
Yes. But in that channeling, it was told that for the first time, he was on a projection table and was able to have a full-body channel with her. And they took a walk on the beach. And is that accurate?
Can you be more specific about exactly what you are saying happened?
Well, he said that he could see through her eyes,
Yes.
and he
so?
could hear, and
Yes.
he could walk, and he could feel the sand.
Yes. Well, this can be done, yes.
But the way it was presented was that this was the first time that this had happened, and that it would be happening
To that being, not to any Essassanian.
Okay, so this projection table idea is not a new idea then.
No.
And
But it is
the
done
whole-
very rarely for a variety of reasons.
Well, it just seems so exciting.
Well, all right, if you say so. Thank you.
So I guess I'm just trying to clarify my understanding of that. She also said that y'all go to the beach.
As you understand already, that the connection that is formed, for example, between myself and the channel before you,
Yes.
is already done while I am in some state of repose, my consciousness being amplified by the sentient computer on my ship to help the connection be made more strongly. All it takes is a little bit more of that connection as I am already in repose to allow the full sensorial telepathic connection to be made so that we can actually receive direct stimulus response through the body of the channel. You understand?
So is it for you, would it be like walking on Earth and experiencing the same thing that we experience? Or something
Not exactly,
similar?
but to a greater degree, yes.
Wow.
So it is similar to the idea of, donning what you would call a wetsuit and going into the ocean. In that it is that we can take on aspects of your physiological form that are then keyed to aspects of our form that will allow us to have a tactile sensation of being in your reality, like diving into the ocean would give you a sensation of being in another environment.
Oh, yeah, but there's still an aspect of it where it's removed.
Yes,
Ah.
there is some aspect that is removed, except, of course, in understanding that in that the channel is my past self, I can also increase the idea of the reality so that it is, to a great degree, almost fully realized.
Yeah.
Because I can experience myself through him as my past self. Thus, I can enhance it to a great degree. Let's say 99.99999999999%.
Wow, that's just so neat.
If you say so.
Yeah, at one point she did.
So our contact with them will be, in a sense, temporary, as catalyzers and facilitators. Yes.
Yeah, it's amazing. The energy to me feels so similar, and yet there's that unique aspect to it
Yes.
in terms of each individual.
Yes.
And she said that, or he said that
Yes.
you all do go to the beach on your planet.
Yes. Is that so strange?
Well, I was under the impression that y'all didn't like the sun.
Why were you under that impression? When have we ever said that?
I don't know. I guess
We
I
do
I
have
just
more
thought
beaches than
that.
you do. We have more water, more shoreline than you do.
Oh, it sounded like so much fun. Yeah.
No. It is of a different frequency than your star. Our skin reality is also of a different frequency that is more harmoniously matched to the frequency of our sun, and so there is not as much discrepancy or difference that would cause that kind of a reaction to occur. In a sense, you would actually find that our sun makes us more transparent.
Yeah, when she was talking about it, I felt like I was on that beach.
Many of you are in your dream state,
That's what
as
I
you
figured.
visit our world and many other worlds, and sometimes take on embodiments in our society. Remember what we call the temporaries, who pop in and then pop out when you wake up. You understand?
Yeah.
But you embody yourselves many times on our planet to have the same kind of tactile experience that we have just described in reverse.
Yeah, so it's almost like a remembering.
Yes.
Yeah.
Does that help you then?
Yeah, that helps a lot. Another question has to do with the last week or so, I've experienced or been nearby situations where there's been violence.
Oh, all right.
There was a car accident in front of my house where the
Yes.
person jumped out and started screaming at the person they hit and
Yes.
threatened to kill him,
Yes.
and then drove away.
Yes.
And then, of course, the other night at El Torito with the pepper spray incident.
At the little bowl.
Yes, at the Little Bull. That was
All right, yes.
very interesting.
Oh, all right, yes, and so?
Well, and of course we had this.
You
big-
live on an interesting planet.
Yeah, but I was wondering about, is this a representation of the extremes of polarity if
Yes.
I'm experiencing that?
Yes.
Because I'm also...
More and more and more and more of the polarity is going to keep coming out. However, depending on your own frequency, that is what will determine whether you are really impacted or affected, no matter whether it's going on all around you. Remember, we've said this for years of your time.
Yes.
You can be standing right in the middle of absolute chaos and be completely unaffected because of your vibration.
Well-
But that doesn't mean you won't see it all around you, as it needs to come to the forefront and come to the surface so that you can get it all out of your systems and decide what you really want to have. But this is one of the symptomologies. This is one of the ways in which you will experience the acceleration by actually seeing even more of the polarity and the negative. But that doesn't mean it has to touch you in that sense.
Well, one thing that happened was that as soon as I breathed the pepper spray, I thought I was going to faint. I
Yes.
mean, I felt like I was losing consciousness,
Yes.
and I zipped out.
Yes.
And I thought about that later, like, gee, was I like abandoning ship or something? You know, I mean...
Well, not really. You are still, to some degree, a physiological being, and there are still some physiological consequences to living in a physiological reality. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as chemistry.
But I wondered about that.
It's not mysterious.
Well, that was like being in the unknown and finding myself.
You can use it that way, yes. As we have suggested that all of you make a friend of the unknown, it can be one way you can use what other people might be doing as a negative thing to enhance your ability to dive into something that can serve you in a very profound and impactful way. Yes, any opportunity you have to make a friend of the unknown, by all means, please dive in. Yes.
Well, is that what you mean, that in that moment, it was so unknown that I observed myself do something that I maybe didn't know about myself before?
Yes, that is what we mean. Well done.
Yeah, so you can do the same thing with terror also by observing how you respond.
Of course.
So that's what the unknown is about. When you're so disoriented that you do something or you respond.
That is one of the ways you can experience it in your reality. Yes.
And I do feel like I feel myself like shifting to fourth density, back to third density.
Yes,
back
all of
and
you are
forth.
oscillating at this time. Yes, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Does that help you?
Yeah, one last thing.
No, that's it.
Okay. Thanks,
You!
Bashar.
And then you. Number two, do you know who you are? All right. Number one, good day. Later.
I had a dream about a week and a half ago,
Yes.
and I woke up and I was on my stomach and a bit disoriented, and I looked up and like, where am I for a moment? And I realized, okay, I'm in my room.
Yes.
And I got up, went to the bathroom, came back in bed, and there was like my room lit up with like 2 flashes. And
Of what color?
like white.
All right.
And I just laid there, but I was startled for about 20 minutes. But before I just laid there,
Yes.
I laid there for like 5 minutes. I'm like, well, I better look or something. So I got my glasses. I looked outside to see what's going on. And I wasn't sure what that was because the way that my windows in my room face, there's no way that the car lights, there's no way for a car to be facing that direction to light up my room. So
All right. So what do you imagine it was?
I don't know. It's kind of...
Yes, you do.
Well,
Yes, you do.
Well, I guess I thought I did because I was looking to see if there was something outside that.
All right. Well, then guess you think you do now.
Well, was it some? Was it Anne?
Yes. What's your hesitation? What's your hesitation?
Well, I'm wondering
Yes.
because I don't ever remember having any abductions or anything, but I have lots of dreams.
All of you have contact of some form. Doesn't have to be what you classically call an abduction to know that you're having contact with higher dimensional realms all the time.
Well, I guess I was a bit startled because I'd never experienced seeing any lights like that in my room, and I was home alone, which is usually when my dreams or things like that happen.
Yes. Well, you are having contact.
Okay.
And
And
now that you are beginning to be more aware of it, what do you want to do about that?
I don't know.
Oh, all right.
I mean, I know that I like it's. I don't feel like I'm being harmed in any way.
All right. Do you
Yeah,
find
I
that you
wanna
can
learn
become, shall we say, equal to the light?
I don't understand.
Yes, you do. Equal to the lights. Equal to the light. Equal to the flashes. Equal to the idea of surprise, of the level on which you think these things come from.
Well, yeah, I was startled, but I wasn't as scared as I thought I might have been. I mean, I was a little freaked out by it.
Freaked out.
Well, I never. That was the first time something like that has happened.
No. This is
Well,
the first time you remember something like
well,
that
I was
happened.
thinking, does it happen like in the middle of the night? Obviously, because I'm dreaming, but maybe it happened and nobody. I mean, they didn't know that I was awake at that moment or that it was happening. But I don't know that anything really happened because I looked at the clock and there wasn't any time
That's all
difference.
right.
But I know that there could be a
still
dimensional.
made a connection to another level of energy and experienced the momentary flash of that dimensional energy in your reality. You opened a door briefly, but then just as quickly slammed it shut, yes. But it was also something that someone else helped you do.
Oh.
It was not something you did alone. It was not something that was done to you. It's something you did together. You peeked in to the blazing light. Just for a moment. Flash, flash. Okay, that's enough.
It's kind of neat. I have another question.
Yeah.
This past couple days ago, my grandmother passed away,
Oh,
and I
all right.
think that her heart was beating really well because they had a pacemaker, but her lungs were filling up. So I think she ended up dying of pneumonia. But I think she was afraid to let go, and I just wanted to know if she's okay. And
Of course, you know that without saying.
But I think that she doesn't. I guess because she didn't believe in reincarnation or anything like that.
It doesn't matter. There are lots and lots and lots of individuals, as you say, in the spirit realm to help them get oriented.
Well, I was kind of hoping that she saw my grandpa.
Yes. And several other people
Yeah.
that she is familiar with. Especially one that was very important to her from childhood.
Huh. Okay.
She's fine.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Also, the next time you think about the light, think of her. And you will actually find that you have the capability of combining the two into a communicative link.
I've been trying to think about.
Don't try to think about it. Think about it.
Well, I've been thinking about it. Nothing so far has happened with her, but I'm
That
sure that
you
if it does,
recognize.
that I recognize. I'm sure if it does, it'll come in a dream.
Do not put the expectation on it that it has to come in any particular way.
Okay.
Let it come as whatever synchronistically is the path of least resistance. Just know that a contact is made, and that's really the key. Know that a contact is made. Don't assume that one hasn't been made just because you don't get the response you think you should get.
Right.
Know that one is made, and then let the response come in whatever is the path of least resistance, because sometimes it can be a dream, sometimes it can be many different kinds of things. But know that a contact is made, that a message has been received, and that a response has been given. And it will simply play itself out in your
Right.
awareness in whatever way, shape, or form it needs to serve you best as well. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Then pleasant dreams.
Thank you.
Number 2. Good day.
Hello, Bashar. Well, first I wanted to let you know that I'm really happy because our new cat, Jazzy Moon, is really coming out. This is the gray.
Yes.
And she's chasing the other cats and chasing the neighborhood cats and playing outside. And
All right.
she's really come out of hiding.
She is jazzed.
Yes. She is.
All right.
I forgot to mention with you a few weeks ago that dream that I had, the interior dream within a dream, when I was laying on a table and
Yes.
an implant was being put in my
Yes.
ear. Well, after the implant was put in, this being showed me drawings that children had drawn.
Yes.
And I think,
Of what nature?
I don't remember what the drawings were of. They were stick figure drawings. And what I remember is that he explained to me telepathically that when children were abducted, they had them make these drawings to help them understand what was happening to them.
Yes.
But I wanted to check if that was accurate.
It is, and they are also something else. They are sometimes the drawings made by the hybrid children,
Oh, okay.
and sometimes shown back to the mothers as a
Oh.
form of communication and connection.
Oh.
So it is both.
Okay. So were the drawings that I was shown drawn by my hybrid children?
Yes. Some of them. Not all of them. Some of them. They were woven in
Okay.
to drawings also made by human children
Oh, okay.
in those experiences when they are on board those ships.
Oh,
They were
okay.
drawn from both sides and put together in one stack and shown to you to continue the idea of a connection and a bond so that they would be, in a sense, all mixed in together.
Mm-hmm.
So that there would be not as much differentiation between the idea of the human children and the hybrid children. You understand?
I see. Yeah, yeah.
So that they can be considered all one, class. One class. You understand?
Yes, yes.
Classmates?
Yes, right, right. Okay.
Yes.
Can you tell me something about my hybrid children, like maybe how many I have, or some names of them, or something that I could hold on to maybe make contact,
Hold on to.
or to help me establish more contact, or
One moment. There is a strong connection you have with one of them that is, in your terms, a little boy. You would most likely name this child Stephen if you were to name the child. Do you follow?
yes.
Does this mean anything to you so far before we continue?
No, not really.
One moment. Imagine again, if you will, or if you wish to say, remember, the stack of stick figure drawings.
Uh-huh.
Does any one of them stand out more than any other?
A drawing of a figure, like just a standing stick figure.
Color,
Color, black.
black. All right. That's his.
Mm.
You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Now, this vibrational name does not have to stick in that way,
Okay.
but it is something that is an earth analogy,
Mm-hmm.
close
Okay.
earth analogy to the vibration of the boy. You can choose another name if you wish.
Okay.
Is there a name you prefer to call this child?
Nothing is coming to mind.
That is not true.
Oh, it's not.
No.
Okay. Oh, well, how about Christopher, then?
Why did that come?
That's always been a name on my mind.
For how long?
For, probably 8 years.
Ah, all right. Understood. One moment. We see. Sometimes there is, as you would say, difficulty in translation. We brought through the idea of the vibration as Stephen when in fact we went too far. S-T, Saint. All right, understood.
Oh.
You understand?
Uh-huh.
We interpreted it as Stephen. It is simply S-T, Saint,
Uh-huh.
which connects to the idea of your Saint Christopher.
Got it. Wow.
You may use that appellation for the child to make the connection stronger if you wish.
Mm-hmm. That feels better.
All right.
Great.
Thank you then for already knowing the name of your child.
Wow. That's incredible.
No, it's quite credible.
It's credible. Okay.
One moment.
Yes.
One moment. Is there anything in particular that you find attractive about what you would call your October month?
Let's see. Yeah, I like the way the leaves turn golden and the light turns a little amber.
Is there any other significance for you of that month? Or is there another
October.
month that is more significant?
Well, my favorite month has always been June.
Why?
It's my birth month and the beginning of summer, and I just equate that with freedom.
And do you equate the opposite with fall? Lack of freedom?
I equate lack of freedom more with winter, but I guess sometimes fall, the end of fall maybe.
All right. One moment, one moment, one moment, one moment. Would somewhere in between feel better?
Sure, yeah.
Pick a
it
date.
would. How about August 12th?
Why that?
Oh, it just came to mind. I've always really respected Leos, and I think that's the time when Leos are born.
All right. Another name for one of your child's hybridized representations would be Augusta. A female.
Wow.
One moment. On that date that you have picked, of August your 12th, it will be within what you would call 15 of your years. We do not know exactly which year, but within 15 of your years, on or around August 12th, will be the date for the physical meeting of your children.
Oh, wow.
You understand?
Yes.
There are many individuals that have these hybrid children will be reintroduced to them physically on the earth within the next decade or two. Within 15 years is your rendezvous with them, and in the date of your choosing or thereabouts shall be the meeting. All right?
Beautiful.
Does that help you?
Yes, it does. Thank you, Bashar.
Thank you. You. And was there a male? You can be next. All right? Number one, good day.
Hello. The questions. Hello. Good day. The questions I have are regarding my physiology,
Physiology.
which I have considered to be really strong, but I'm worried about one thing in particular.
And that would be?
I have a soreness in the muscle right about where my heart is,
Yes.
and I've had adjustments by chiropractors for hiatal hernia,
Yes.
which when they do that, they say that it's connected to that muscle and it relieves it. But
Yes.
it keeps coming back.
You may need further adjustment and correction so that the entire system is aligned, rather than simply attempting to adjust the one area that keeps being the brunt of the combined misalignments.
Does it have to do with digestion?
Some of it, but a lot of it has to simply do with the idea of bodily alignment. You may need more thorough alignment throughout large portions of your body so that it doesn't all build up in that one area, which is what it has a tendency to do in your form. Do you understand?
I understand. It's only been over the past few years, so I thought that it was something that might be going on in my life, spiritually or emotionally.
It is always capable of being used that way, but the idea is that sometimes things will build up over time until they begin to no longer be able to support you and will simply then start to show the result of long, long durations of misalignment as it will finally build up in a weak spot, similar to the idea of a weak spot in the dam finally cracking because of build-up pressure over time, focusing on that spot. You understand? So in a sense, that is the culmination point that represents symbolically a weak spot that needs work, but because of the misalignments, both physiologically and perhaps emotionally, over time, it is all culminating and focusing in that area. So physiologically, to help alleviate it physically, you may need more adjustments and more alignment over larger areas of your body to align you so that it does not take the brunt of all the misalignments physically. Now, yes, you can use it symbolically, emotionally, for other things as well. Is there something that comes to mind that you feel you need to work on in that area?
Well, I was just wondering whether or not you meant energetically aligning?
I mean energetically, but I also mean physiologically.
Okay, so it's not something I can do for myself.
Well, you are doing it for yourself, even though you're having help.
Okay.
But
so-
yes, I would suggest that may require some individuals to help you with the physiological manipulations. If you feel you can trust them to align you in a certain way, then yes, use your sensibilities to determine who you need to be attracted to help you in this. It's still you doing it, but you have some help. Yes.
Okay.
And energetically, what else is going on? Especially in the area of what you call your quote-unquote digestibility.
What else is going on there?
Yes.
Um,
Is there something that you are recently finding difficult to stomach? Is there some concept of heartache from the past in that area? Is there something going on between those chakras? What's going on in your life?
I'm traveling a lot. I'm sort of changing the way I'm living. I'm traveling around without any plan, just energetically going from place to place where I
All
feel
right.
like I want to.
Do you find that you are capable of doing this in joy, or does this stress you out? To have no plan?
I like it. I'm excited about it.
All right.
It makes me feel creative and free.
All right. Are you drinking enough water?
I drink quite a bit, but I could always drink more.
Well, you don't have to waterlog yourself.
Well, I think I drink enough water.
Between 1 and 2 quarts a day?
Yes.
All right. And how is your mineralogical content? For some of it may be also lacking. How is your potassium salts and magnesium salts and things of that nature? We find there may be some deficiency and depletion in this.
Potassium and magnesium?
Yes, and a few other things that you may need to research.
Okay.
Some of this may also help alleviate some of what you are experiencing, as the strengthening of the cellular walls may be involved to some degree in the musculature and in the neurological pathology.
All right.
Anything else you wish to discuss? Anything else on your mind?
Yes. The one other thing is a high-frequency sound that I hear all of the time. And
all the time, or just some of the time, all the time?
all the time. It's
to the
so,
same degree, to the same pitch, to the same intensity?
Yes. It's just always there.
Right now?
Yes.
All right.
And
did this start at a certain time, or has it always been?
no, it hasn't always been.
When was there a time it was not?
When I was young, at least I don't remember it.
And when do you remember beginning to remember it?
About 10 years ago.
10. Is there anything that occurred in your life 10 years ago that was transforming, that you can recall?
Not really.
Nothing at all.
Not that I can remember.
What is your present physiological age?
47.
So then, nothing that you remember occurred at 37.
Well, not that I can think of, and I can't even remember. I just pulled that number out because I don't even know if that's when I started hearing it. It was like I heard it and I thought, oh, isn't that interesting?
Do you find it annoying?
I find I want to be at peace with it. I was told once that it was the familiar sound from the planet I'm from, or something like that, and I thought, well...
I will tell you this. There is something to it in terms of your energy and recognizing your own frequency, but I will also tell you that if you have the correct adjustment to your neck, it will subside.
Okay.
Attract yourself to the understanding that there may be a way to neurologically dampen it by allowing alignment to come back into your neck and spinal area. All right?
Okay.
Does that help you?
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
It's been some time.
Oh, all right. Yes, it has been some time.
When I arrived here tonight, I was kind of upset about what Ed Dames was saying last night on the remote viewing about the cylindrical object within Hale-Bopp that is...
Are we back to that again?
No, this is not the same thing. He's talking about a cylindrical object that is...
It is the same idea in a different disguise, isn't it?
That has detached itself from
it is the same thing in a different disguise, isn't it?
Well, it sounds negative to me.
Once more with feeling. There are no objects at all attached in any way, shape, or form, inside or outside the comet you know as Hale-Bopp. None, zero, zip. Now, that is clear or that isn't clear?
I understand what you're saying.
But you don't buy it.
I'm not, well,
There are no objects of any kind other than the comet itself, and anything that may break off as a cometary piece of the comet itself. There are no other kinds of objects attached in any way, shape, or form to the comet you know as Hale-Bopp. Yes, it is a signifier. Yes, it is a symbol. Yes, it is a reflector of many different things, of aspects of different portions of your collective consciousness. What is being once again described is a reflection of the individual's consciousness who is doing the perceiving. And it is of the nature of the frequency of the individual making the perception. It is, in that sense, an embodiment within their own reality that is formed from their own vibrational energy. There is nothing empirically by itself there.
Yeah, I understand. He's making a prediction that the greenery on the Earth is going to be disappearing in a couple of years.
Well, that may be due to a variety of things. Not all of it will disappear. Some of it is already disappearing. There is a great amount of desertification taking place on your planet. The comet, to some degree, may be symbolic of the timing of shifts of this nature, and to some degree, from time to time, cometary chemicals can, if they filter down through planetary atmospheres, cause certain chemical changes within the environment and the biology and the flora, the fauna, as you call it, in that sense. This energetically, almost what you would call homeopathically, has some truth to it with regard to the vibration of the comet relative to the vibration of your planet in terms of the ability to point out and accelerate areas that are already devolving, areas that are already devoid of nutrient, but also the opposite can occur. Many times, cometary chemicals can actually accelerate the growth of plant life on your planet, depending upon the chemicals involved. However, overall, you will find the comet is not passing close enough to your planet for you to actually be in physiological contact with many of the chemical components in it. So what is again being talked about is a symbolic perception that is a reflection of the vibrational frequency of the individual doing the perceiving, and I would suggest very strongly that you take it with a grain of salt.
Which I do with Ed Dames.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
And if you want to, in any way, shape, or form, verify, once again for yourself, that there is no physiological object in proximity to the comet, you will find that that comet has been close enough to your planet for quite some time that there are dozens and dozens and dozens of very sharp photographs of that comet, and you will see by looking in any astronomy magazine on your planet that there is nothing there in the immediate vicinity but the comet. Nothing at all. You follow?
Mm-hmm.
Does that help you?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
You know,
You sound uncertain.
well, you know, when
Yes,
I said when I came here, I had that feeling, and then I called out your name,
Yes.
Bashar, and then later when you said, "Is there a male?" I'd already gotten the idea
Yes.
that I knew the answer, which happens a lot. Often I come here expecting to answer a question, and it's already
That's all
answered.
any of you really have to do. Because that's all you're doing right now. You are having this conversation with yourself. You're having it with your version of me, made out of your energy. All of you do this. We do this. Everyone does this. Therefore, taking the shortcut that you took, in that sense, you are capable of doing, yes. All you have to do is take yourself to the same level of frequency of energy that you believe I exist on, and you will find that you will have information in the same way that I would deliver it, as long as you are truly honed in on that frequency. So yes. But nevertheless, having this conversation provided a wonderful illustration for a variety of reasons to a variety of other people. So thank you.
Bashar.
You. Good day.
Good day, Bashar. Thank you for this interaction.
And you as well.
I'd like to give you my spin on that and tell me what you think. I just was fortunate enough to see Ed Dames in person at a MUFON meeting about 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
And while observing his energy field and looking at his aura, I noticed a lot of different things, one of which definitely seemed to be some sort of entity, but it's not the kind that I normally see in people's fields, like, purple lines come in the top of their heads.
Yes.
It was a dark figure that would come in occasionally behind him.
Yes.
And I also...
It's called manifestation archetypally of fear.
Right. And I also noticed definitely that there were some... is being used by, whatever number of people, whatever you want to call it, secret government, whatever.
Dames is being used by dames, period.
So you don't think that he's releasing information about like a cylinder in the tail or whatever, maybe to cover up for something that maybe somebody else is?
No. He is only functioning in a very, very strong way of service to give more and more people on your planet the opportunity to decide what their frequency really is. Because many times, once again, this is well known on your planet, it is easier for many of you to figure out what you are by seeing in black and white what you're not. So he is providing the surface of dispensing certain frequencies of information so that you will have a clearer understanding of what you resonate to and what you don't resonate to. So in that sense, it is a positive service provided through the idea of certain negativized information. You understand? But it is simply a part and parcel and a product of the personality construct he has created himself to be. Does that help you?
A little bit. Can you elaborate a little more?
The only way that his personality structure would in any way, shape, or form be connected to the implications you have made about being used by others is that, of course, by being on a certain wavelength, he will automatically key into any others of a similar frequency, and that will have a tendency to amplify and feedback the amplification through his personality, and in that sense you could say he is being amped by others of like vibration, but it isn't an intentional conscious program, not on the physical level. You follow?
Yeah, his reality has always been much fear-based anyways, because they used to use him in the White House basically to project in the future of all the negative scenarios that would happen.
So, again, what we are saying is that like attracts like, and in that he is, by his own choice, allowing himself to be involved in such programs, he will then simply strengthen the training in the familiarity with that particular vibration, and will then, because of the nature of that frequency, have a tendency to believe that vibration over any other as being more real.
Right. That's just his possible timeline.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Bashar.
Thank you. Yes. And to you, good day.
The electronic stick is on its way.
Whether or not there are so many things, I suggest that for your homework you keep it concise.
My son gave me a Brita water filtration system for Christmas.
Water filtration system, yes, all right, understood.
And I'm feeling that it's not the best system. I don't know if it's purifying the water enough for my body.
All right, so what you're saying is that you would like to do some homework and do some research and find out what you would prefer. Is that what you are saying?
I'm saying that I don't want to hurt his feelings, and
well, then I guess you'll have to be creative about how you communicate what it is you need to do, won't you? And you have to allow yourself to know that if you've done the best you can to make sure that you are not intentionally hurting his feelings, then if his feelings are hurt, that's his choice. Not to be cold about it.
Okay, are you saying then that it is...
I am saying that there is a way for you to get in touch with your own love and warmth and ability to communicate so that you can concoct a communication to your child in such a manner so as to lessen the probability that he will not understand why you are saying what you are saying, that it will not be perceived as a devaluation of him, but simply an exploration of greater possibilities within the concept of what the gift represents. That's what I am saying.
I understand that. So are you agreeing with me that that's probably not the best system for me? Or okay. One night, I think you showed me a spaceship, and it looked like a membrane, like a pink membrane that I could see through. Am I right in that? Was that a spaceship?
No comment.
Okay.
It is critical now the way you formulate your statements and questions, and the consequences of exactly how you have structured your questions and statements will exactly reflect in the way that we are capable of responding to you, more now than ever before.
I understand. Okay, I wanted to share a couple of things with you. The episode with the pepper spray, because I don't want to go into the negativity. I did not experience it, but I started coughing with everyone else just to join in. So,
not just to join in, but in the idea that, again, there are simply some things that are physiological consequences to the physical reality you have agreed to participate in.
Because it didn't feel like it affected me.
Obviously it did.
Okay.
Or you wouldn't be talking about it.
Okay. I am very excited. I found this new juicing book.
A juicing book.
About every fruit
you
and
put a piece of fruit in the book and it juices it for you.
The book about...
you people are inventive.
Yeah. It tells about every single fruit and vegetable on this planet, everything you'd want to know for everything.
No, not every single one.
No, okay. Well, okay, I have to do... Okay, anyway, I'm so excited about it. I can't stand it. It's so...
Well, then sit down.
All right, I am. Okay. The other thing is, I am looking at things like you spoke about last time, about seeing where you're at and then owning it, and then you can transform it. I've been doing a lot of that, and it's really exciting to me.
All right.
And I realize that we know everything, and the information's there for us, not to play dumb.
Yes. Although, of course, sometimes you think you know what you think you know, but you really don't.
Exactly. That I know, too.
Yes, thank you.
I feel that I'm having a pain here underneath my jaw into my neck on the left side.
And perhaps that is a good reason why you needed to be brief.
Okay. I think it's from detoxifying, and I'm
nope.
just...
It's not.
It's not?
Nope.
Is it from the homeopathic remedy?
Nope. Although, to some degree, that is triggering and bringing back to the forefront some of the reason why that is occurring. Because many homeopathics will do that. They're designed specifically to bring from within things that have been there for a long time that need to be brought out again so that they can be transformed. Some of it may be bringing some of that back that's been there for a while, but at the same time, there is a stronger physiological reason for why you are experiencing that sensation. That is more immediate than past.
Is it to the need to express myself succinctly?
Yes. Well said.
Okay.
Very succinct.
And what's happening is that my body is like crying out for juices, different, like vegetables and fruits. It's very exciting to go through this process.
Oh, all right.
And that's it, I guess. Thank you. Good night.
You! And then you. Number 2, do you know who you are? All right. Number 1, good day.
I'd like to tell you about an amazing discovery.
An amazing discovery.
That's right. And it is that that phi is more golden to me now.
Oh, all right.
It's always been like the square root of 5 plus 1 all divided by 2. That's one exact definition of it.
Yes.
Another is that I've also it's the asymptote of the Fibonacci sequence.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And the third one I just discovered was that it is the only quantity that is exactly 1 over phi is exactly 1 less than phi.
All right.
And so that makes a third definition that gives another tint of gold to it.
Yes.
Okay. And so anyway, I'm just trying to do more things.
You are having fun exploring this concept. Yes?
That's right, and getting more deep into the phi ratio.
Deep into phi.
That's right. You got it. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Out of the frying pan and into the fire. Thank you. And number 2.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good day.
I had a couple things I wanted to explore with you.
All right, number 1.
Number 1 is my interactions.
Yes. What about them?
They have seemingly ceased. For a while, they were fairly conscious and very interesting. There were a lot of those parallel reality experiences.
Yes.
And then I had what was sort of a lucid dream in which I was in a very large white room, and I said, now is the time to meet face to face.
And
a gray walked in the door.
All right.
And sat down in front of me.
Yes.
And we met face to face. And it was very
eye-opening?
Yes, and not as terrifying as I thought it would be, and very realistic and odd, and nothing's happened since.
Oh, many things have happened since. Not necessarily what you might think, but many things have begun to grow and expand and accelerate now for you, have they not?
In strange ways, yes.
Well, that's the best way.
Well, it is, I guess, yes.
The unexpected, remember?
Yeah, very
and
much so.
That which you used to call strange is becoming more commonplace, is it not?
Absolutely.
Well, then, do you not want it to be in strange ways?
Oh, yes.
I know you do.
I really do.
I know you do.
Okay.
So, congratulations
Okay.
on your eye-to-eye conversation.
Well, thank you.
What else do you suspect you may have discussed in that conversation? Did you see your own reflection in its eye? Do you see it now that I bring it up?
Now that you bring it up. Yeah, now that you bring it up.
See your face in the reflection of its eye. Do you?
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about that image?
It feels surprisingly very nice.
And does anything in particular happen when you see that? Do you get any particular feeling, any particular knowledge, any particular knowingness?
No, the thing that comes to mind is it
Yes.
It
Yes.
It feels like fireworks.
Fireworks. All right.
Yeah.
Effervescent, bubbly.
Yes, very much so.
All right.
It's like a sparkler, a
and
fireworks
you feel all that
sparkler.
within yourself, yes? Yes.
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 And who did you meet? Who?
I met myself.
Yes, you did. You had another version of yourself, yes. Another aspect of your soul, yes. Another split off of the same consciousness that created you, yes.
Which all of those interactions are with.
Mirror on the wall, yes.
Everything.
And now you know that more innately in yourselves than ever before. So continue to act like you know it, and you will find great expansion, great acceleration. It doesn't necessarily have to come in the form of those conversations or interactions, but now, in a sense, you are on, shall we say, coast mode. You are coasting in the acceleration of that encounter. Let yourself expand like a bubble accordingly. Don't worry, you'll pop soon into another level. And then more strange things will occur.
Oh, goody. Well, the other thing that I wanted to ask you about, maybe
Yes.
part of this, which I guess everything is.
Yes. Which you know everything is.
Everything is, of course.
Yes.
For about the past month, I've
Yes.
been experiencing some strange things physiologically.
More strangeness.
More strangeness.
Yes.
I can't stop eating. I have...
Are you eating right now?
I can stop periodically. That was an overstatement.
Oh, all right.
I seem to have developed this voracious appetite.
Voracious.
I feel very pregnant. I'm not pregnant, but I feel...
You are pregnant with possibilities. You are pregnant with more of yourself.
Well, that's
you
what
are
occurred to
feeding
me.
what you perceive to be a bigger being with more energy and more needs for support in the energy field of sustenance. Yes. Trust your body consciousness. You will not overeat. You will know how to regulate yourself as soon as you calm down into a harmonious alignment with your new speed. You'll catch up to yourself. It'll smooth out. But for now, trust yourself, all right?
Okay.
So
And-
relax. All right?
Okay.
Does
Can I
that
just
help
say,
you?
yes, it does. Can I just say share one little magic thing?
By all means.
I just love this. It's a little thing, but I was thinking that I would like a chakra meditation tape.
Yes.
And I went to a few bookstores and I couldn't find one. I remembered having one many years ago, and I didn't think they made them anymore. And yesterday I went to my CD shelf and there was one sitting there. Now, I don't remember purchasing it. My husband doesn't remember purchasing it. It's brand new. It's right from the store. It hasn't been opened yet. And it's exactly what I wanted.
Yes. As I said, you are now experiencing yourself as more than you used to be. Thus, you already contain what you need, and it is now capable of manifesting more quickly, more readily, more easily.
I really love you.
Our unconditional love to you as well.
Thank you.
Bashar. What was the other question that you wanted to ask? Woman of glass.
It was just a real short thing.
Short thing.
Short question.
Yes.
Well, we had discussed this triangle on my back, and then the burning pain. And then after the next day, I had had a little dream, and there was just a connection to Stephanie and a connection to Mars.
Yes.
About that.
Yes. Connection to the Greys, a connection to Mars, a connection to each other. Yes.
But you had made the statement that it was a different hybrid.
Yes. That too. One does not exclude the other.
Okay. And that, I'm not understanding that.
I know.
So how is it that a different hybrid connection? I mean, we already know about the Greys.
You think you do.
Oh.
I have already told you many times there are many factions of Grey.
Uh-huh.
Many agendas. Many parallel paths that result in different outcomes, have I not?
Yes.
And some of that has to do with some of the other hybrid realities that exist.
Ah. Okay, so what faction of the Greys is
There is
this?
no way to explain that to you. They don't have a name. It's the XYZ faction. How would you understand it?
Well,
how would you have a reference point for explaining what faction it is when you have no definition at all for most of what they are? It would be like trying to point out a single drop in the middle of the ocean to you and saying, that drop.
All right.
Well, there it went. Oh, wait, there it is. That drop. You see it? No? Oh, that drop. You understand?
Yes, but how can you explain it to me so I can understand what
I can't.
What their agenda?
You have to experience it.
Oh, I have to experience it.
Yes. So, if you will get in touch with that particular symbol on your back, you will find that it contains the appropriate frequency to put you on the appropriate wavelength so that you will have more experiential contact with exactly the reality domain that you need to have in order to understand who they are in that way. There are no labels I can give you that will help you understand how to differentiate them.
And then the connection then with Stephanie and her
That is all contained within that frequency. It's an amalgamated frequency, and I do not use those words lightly.
Okay, so then we'll explore that.
Yes,
more.
You will.
Thank you.
At this timing, we once again extend to each and every one of you our deep appreciation in allowing our civilization to co-create this communication and this transmission this day of your time through this window. Remember, the window is transparent. It goes both ways. Allow yourself to understand that as a window symbolically and as the idea of glass, it is not solid, it flows. Let your reality flow through the window to find out where else you also exist. Come this way, come this way, come this way. Pleasant dreams. How did it go? Thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you.
And I'll see you again. Thanks.
Can I give hands for anybody that want? We're going over to the macaroni grill. And anybody that. How you doing?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Fine. I'm
Whoops.
Gonna your badge. You're hooked into. It's stuck in. No, what?
There.
I'm gonna
Wait a second.
Take your challenge.